Hello everyone, Burb here. Bamboo Memory is releasing tomorrow, and I want to spend a bit of time telling you what she is capable of. As per usual, I'll be going over the banner briefly, and then we'll be getting right into the character. This is a solo banner. If you are a Bamboo Memory Oshi player and you're getting cold feet, this is what you are getting with this character. This is a sprint, mile, and medium corner 4 track specialist. I'll get into what that exactly is, but she has an acceleration ultimate, which means she is very powerful when she is within the categories in which her ultimate is able to proc within the acceleration zone. Outside of those categories, her ultimate will have the improper timing and unfortunately will not be very effective. However, as a trade-off, when her ultimate works, it is powerful because it just happens to be a perfect proc on most sprint and mile tracks. Okay, so she is certainly viable, especially in shorter distances, and from there you have a character that you enjoy that you can play on probably close to 40 to 50% of the champions meetings without having to stretch that much. We'll be going over a lot of stuff in this character, especially with champions meeting later on in the video if you are interested in that. But let's go and start talking about Bamboo Memory. Her aptitudes are more on the sprint mile focus. She has Turf A, Sprint A, Mile A, and is meant to be a late surger. However, note that she is Dirt D, which means you can stretch her into the dirt roll without too much hassle, which is really important because most of the dirt tracks are in the mile, sprint, and medium category. She has medium C, so you can stretch her into mediums. Those are especially useful for those corner 4 tracks, and you can actually stretch her into end closer without too much hassle as well, which is really nice because her ultimate is a back half of the pack ultimate as well. So I would suggest those two. You can build her pace, but that requires a front and pace heavy lobby. She's really meant to be a late surger and end closer in the shorter and medium distances, especially in corner 4 tracks, as I said. Her bonuses are 10% speed, 10% power, and 10% guts, which would really make a lot of sense in Track Blazer because we would be running basically purely the guts build. Currently, right now, we are seeing a lot of speed with solo power and wit decks and the occasional guts build as well. Either way, your speed button is amplified by 20% and your guts button is amplified by 30% with a power button amplification of 10%, which are all really good things. This is one of the more powerful stat bonuses in the game. Because of the speed and power bonus, the guts bonus is just sort of a kind of nice to have, but honestly won't be too much useful in Grand Live. It will help you a little bit in just getting some bonus stats when you have to press the stamina button in Grand Live, just the tiniest of bits. For her unique, Red Hot Discipline states, very slightly increased acceleration for a brief duration when closing in from the back on the final corner or later late race. Effect and duration increase when passing another runner up to 3 times. It's kind of told you what it is, but there's just a lot of stuff with this ultimate. But there's a couple of conditions, there's a special scaling, and there's of course acceleration and duration, which we will get into. First of all, this is a late race locked ultimate, which is great for an acceleration ultimate, which means because you cannot proc this too early. It will always either be at perfect timing or late, no matter what else is in the conditions. His final corner is also on it, which doesn't affect short or most mile tracks because the final corner is usually before the actual spurt starts. The only exception to this is the straight tracks, the pure straight tracks. There is no final corner, which means that this ultimate doesn't currently work. However, when you go and start getting into the the mediums and the long tracks, specifically the medium corner 3 tracks, which means the spurt is on the 3rd corner rather than the final corner of the race, this ultimate is locked to final corner, which means it will be delayed. And this, in terms of these corner 3 tracks, is usually too much because of the strength of the ultimate to actually find any value, because acceleration, you are most likely at max speed by the time the 4th or final corner ends up hitting. So she is really only good on sprints, miles, and corner 4 mediums. On corner 3 mediums and long tracks, she in general is really unable to be effective in terms of her unique. At best, she is a blank slate for you to put skills on. She does have powerful skills in her kit, but her ultimate will not be helping you in that respect. The only other condition you have to satisfy is being in the back half of the pack, order rate 50 or greater. This in Champions Meeting is 5th place or worse, and in League of Heroes will be 6th place. And you have to be close to the horse in front of you. This isn't the most difficult condition to achieve. Most likely, if there are other characters in your role, you will be in a position where there is someone within a horse length in front of you. And it's kind of important that there is a horse in front of you because of the passing special scaling that you will get. But 2.5 meters or closer, if there is a horse close in front of you and you're in the back half of the pack, either usually through means of which you have pushed into the Pace Chaser pack as a late surger, or if there are other characters basically fighting for position with you, you basically will be able to go and proc Bamboo Memory's ultimate, which is a 0.1 acceleration that also increases acceleration by 0.1 every single time you pass somebody with a special duration scaling. It starts out at 2 seconds, and if you overtake somebody, the base duration does increase by 1 second. Because there is a horse in front of you within a length, it is very likely that you will actually go and pass that horse. Now, even if you don't pass that horse, there will be other horses in front of you that have not hit a perfect proc acceleration like you have. And especially in the sprint and mile tracks where everybody's all clustered up because there isn't a lot of time for the pack to stretch itself out, you will most likely be passing people quite frequently. However, this ultimate ends up becoming a little bit finicky because occasionally what you will see is that there is a large gap between you, because you are the best mid-race in your role, to the next pack in front, and there won't be basically a Bastion in front of you to actually proc the ultimate, and there won't be a person to actually pass itself. The way that you kind of build this character is you really want to either hit a acceleration besides her ultimate, like on your left, or you want to hit a speed carryover skill like some of the ones in her kit. A combination of these two, or one or the other, usually will cause you to pass somebody near immediately in the late race because, like I said, there's 8 other horses. Some of one's not going to perfect proc every single time. And so you are basically getting rewarded for doing the thing that you should be doing anyways. You are winning more. You can consider this a secondary acceleration that is really, really, really powerful when you hit a primary acceleration, like let's say like a red shift or a, what's it called? Let's say a on your left or sorts. So if you hit your primary acceleration, this ultimate kind of stacks on top of the other excels. If you hit a speed carry over at the proper time, you're most likely passing somebody, and your perfect proc excel will be able to get you to finish the pass. The inherit itself is a little bit difficult to see if it's going to have like any meta relevance. At first glance, I don't think it looks very good because you basically are pretty much required to hit 2 to 3 passes in order to get to the level of which the other, basically the other methods of acceleration are in the game. Before the on your left change, there may have been an argument for inheriting this, but right now, I think it's in the tertiary or gamble acceleration category because you really need to, I mean, this is a secondary acceleration that only goes up to 0.2. So the difference between your 0.4 and your 0.6 is not going to be too much. And honestly, there's other options that you can probably grab that I think are going to be better than inheriting this. Not to say that this doesn't have value. If you have the skill points, it probably isn't the worst thing in the world in sprint and mile tracks. For her careers and events, she has a very easy career on first glance. It's basically a sprint and mile career with the sacrificial race of the Takarazuka Keenan because it's a medium track and you have medium C. Although with medium C, you probably will still win in senior year because you will have a ton of speed if you have any level of stamina whatsoever. Otherwise, super easy career. The secret event, I'm the best of the best, is basically win your 2 goal races and add 2 G2s or G3 sprints because you're running both G1 sprints in the senior year. And it gives you sprint straights and home stretch haste. So especially on this Unity Cup 2.0 CM, you definitely want to be adding a G2 or G3 sprint, 2 of them, to get these skills because it is sprint straightaways and home stretch haste, 2 incredibly powerful skills on the sprint tracks, especially now that we are struggling finding skills at the moment. Her events and skills, there aren't really that many event skills. Target and Sight is the only top-down choice option, and Vibing is a practice perfect, which is it's better than Hot Topic, but it doesn't really do too much. And of course, you would rather have Charming or Fast Learner, but you take what you can get. So there's not that many event skills, but her innate skills are actually rather good. She has Ramp Up, which is It's On, which is just past somebody. That synergizes with the kit. Sprint Corners is the counterpart to Sprint Straights, so you have access to both in this next upcoming CM. And Fearless is basically a weaker version of Glittering Star for Late Surger, but now that Glittering Star is not around, it's an option if you have a ton of hints on it. For her gold skills, there are two incredibly good gold skills that synergize well with her kit. Rising Dragon is basically a pass somebody on the final corner, and you will get some bonus speed that can very easily speed carry over on those mile tracks and sprint tracks. Full of Vigor is what we were basically using on her card for the mile CM. It is just be in the back, and you will be at a random point, get some speed. It has a very high chance of speed carryover, especially on certain mile tracks. And yes, she is kind of a mile specialist, but it does work in sprint because while you lose Full of Vigor, you still have Rising Dragon, and you still have all those different sprint skills as well to supplement. So sprint tracks, mile tracks, they're both very good for Bamboo Memory. The plan basically is look at all these skills that she has that can speed carry over. You have two separate gold skills. One, of course, is Mile Bound. You have Sprint Corners. You have Ramp Up for when you pass. You have Fearless as a gamble option. You have a bunch of skills to speed carry over to go and try to proc your ultimate, to go win the race with Homestretch Ace and other skills that you put on her. For her CM viability, in the upcoming Leo Cup CM, she is actually kind of powerful because that final corner is a perfect proc excel for her. So if you're able to go and speed carry over or hit an on your left and you can stack up her excel pretty quickly, you'll be at max speed a lot faster than people because you will basically have 0.4 excel. It is not as good as a Taiki Shuttle or a Nishino Flower Ultimate, but just barely because you need to pass a few people. But you most likely in the CM, because there's a bunch of pace chasers and they're all fighting for 2 slots, there's going to be pace chasers for you to pass rather quickly. So it is only the slightest of worse than the pace chaser ultimates. In CM17, the final corner is too far away from the spurt, and this is really what you're looking for in determining whether or not she is CM viable for the particular champions meeting. Is the final corner late race basically is the final corner before or at the spurt. At this point, CM17, the medium dirt track, although you do have dirt aptitude, it is a little bit too far. You will be most likely at max speed when you actually hit your acceleration. In the mile track, it's the same thing. It is a mile track. It has a corner 4 before the final spurt, which means it perfect procs. And then from there, it's the same thing as a sprint track, except now you have Full of Vigor to support as well. So you actually are quite powerful on this mile track. On the medium track, it does look like it's slightly close enough. The problem is with this is twofold. One, again, this is kind of like the weird redshift timing where it's like just in there where people are debating whether or not it's there, and it's good, except that you also have to pass people after it. So this is the best timing that it procs, and the odds that you are passing 3 people after the spurt happens and after basically the first 50 to 100 meters where people who are not hitting are already being passed, and the people who are hitting more excel than you because you're late procking your excel. So it's not really going to work out too well. The second problem with this is the literal Thanos snap like Christmas Oguri map with the downhill and the 777 on end closer. So we're going to have much bigger problems that we need much stronger accelerations than Bamboo Memory. For the long track, yes, it's too far away, and you have long G, of course, so when the Arima Keenan happens, it's going to be very tough because she just doesn't have an ultimate, and you have long G, so it's not necessarily recommended. So in Champions Meeting, your sprint to mile tracks, as long as there's a final corner, you're usually pretty fine. For Affinity, her highest affinity is Oguri Cap at 29, and basically after that, it's every single mile person that you'd ever want. You have Nishino Flower, you have basically King Halo, which is really useful because you'll be putting a lot of Trace and Cheer on certain mile and sprint tracks, which should help you out a lot in the late surger and end closer position. Vodka and Taiki Shuttle as well. Basically all the milers as well as Oguri Cap is very good affinity with her. So in conclusion, she's a sprint and mile track specialist. I think I've said that repeatedly. Corner 4 mediums work as well. She has a couple things going for her. Having an acceleration ultimate is very volatile. It means that you're really good on the tracks where you work, and then you're practically pretty difficult on the tracks that you don't, you can go and surprise people with this pick, because with the late surger buff, especially in this sprint CM, having on your left as a near guaranteed proc on this sprint CM means that you basically have on your left plus this character's acceleration base, and that's usually enough with a good timing that you can just focus on only mid race and late race and be good from there. So always remember that other Umas may be jacks of all trades, but Bamboo Memory just stays rooted in one valuable method of victory so that she can stand tall at the end of the race. Like a bamboo memory. Take care, everyone. Burb out.